Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is September 3rd. This is Positively Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joe, and it is football season, baby. That's right. Say goodbye to baseball. Say hello to football. We're back, baby. My partner, Sean, is not here today, so it's just me and you talking football, talking week one. We're going to go through every game. We're going to pick a winner for each game against the spread, talk a little bit. Try not to spend too long on anything. And, God, I'm glad to be back. Let's get it. And what better place to start than your Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys in the curtain raiser for the NFL season. Boys, it's going to be a good one. The Eagles were the best team in football last year. They deserve that championship. They haven't gotten much better, but they haven't gotten much worse. And when you're good, that's a good thing. You can stay good. The Eagles, the Cowboys, on the other hand, made some improvements on the offense. They like to think they brought in George Pickens. Oh, boy, they lost Micah Parsons. 2 first-round picks and a defensive tackle. That tackle will be playing on Thursday night. But those two first-round picks, they're not going to be playing. They're not going to be helping Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. And so that's a little bit of a talent deficit on defense. Look at last year. Obviously, these two teams in the same division, they play each other twice every year. But last year, they didn't start until week 10. So 2.5 months of the season before the Eagles and Cowboys kicked off. Now they get each other in early September when the weather's warm in Philadelphia. There's not that chill in the air for these Dallas Cowboys visiting. Last year, it was a bloodbath. In Dallas, 34-6, the Eagles routed them. In Philadelphia, 41-7, the Eagles routed them. So, on one hand, you say, well, the Cowboys' defense is going to be worse without Micah Parsons. Well, they were pretty bad last year, 31 points, 34 and 41 points. 75 points altogether the Eagles scored in 2 games against the Cowboys. So, it's not like Micah Parsons was holding down the fort there, all due respect. So what do we have? What do we see going forward? Let's take a look. A couple things to remember about these Cowboys is that 2021, 2022, 2023, they're a top 5 ranked scoring offense. They're a top 10 scoring defense, 5th defense in scoring in 22 and 23. And then last year, a massive drop-off across the board. You could say, hey, Cooper Rush started as many games as Dak Prescott started last year, 8 each. So maybe that's an excuse on the offensive side. But how do you go from the 5th best defense in yards and points in 2023 to the 31st and 28th ranked defense in points and yards? That's a huge, massive drop-off. And you can't say Micah Parsons was leading the line for an amazing defense last year. So obviously that is going to have a massive impact on the pass rush, but it's not like they had a championship-winning defense and they lost their best piece. So what can we expect? We can expect that the Eagles are probably going to put up a lot of points. They're going to run the ball well. They're going to throw the ball well. They have Jalen Hurts who can beat you with his legs. I mean, how many times last year did I bet the under on Jalen Hurts rushing yards? Because I think he's a tush-push merchant, so to speak. And then he just has these breakout runs. I mean, he is really quietly a very dangerous runner on broken plays. They like sending receivers deep downfield and a lot of space there for dump-offs to Saquon, as we saw a lot, but also for Jalen Hurts to go and attack that space. New head coach in Dallas, obviously, the young Schottenheimer. Fresh start, offensive coach, right? Offensive mastermind coach. So maybe George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, on paper, 2 number 1 receivers for most teams. Maybe this is the rebirth of that Dak Prescott air it out offense. They haven't, I think last year, Rico Dowdle rushed for 1,000 yards. I think that's a fact. Let's double check. He did. Just barely. 1,080 yards, only 2 rushing touchdowns. So Rico, maybe a lot of that's garbage time or maybe it looks a little bit better on the stat sheet, but that Cowboys rushing attack has not been dominant since the prime Zeke years. And even then it was a pass-first offense, but having Ezekiel Elliott gave some leeway. So now these Cowboys bring in young Javonte Williams, obviously had bad injury luck in Denver. Miles Sanders, who's kind of bounced around since his glory years in Carolina. I think he was an Eagle at one point. Jaden Blue is the rookie that people are excited about. I watched Jaden Blue in college. I wasn't a huge fan of his, but who knows, could translate. And you can't say they didn't try to bring someone in. They brought someone in, but a lot of people are talking it could be, if things go poorly with the Jets, we'll get there later, could this be a landing spot for Breece Hall? Possibly. Look, the truth is against the Eagles' defense, it doesn't matter if you've got Jim Brown out there. He's probably not going to be doing great because they got the whole SEC, all SEC for the last 5 years. Seems like the front 8 of those great Georgia teams, those are all Philadelphia Eagles now. How did we let that happen? The rest of the league. Don't you guys want some Georgia Bulldogs? I don't know. So the line is 8.5, or the line's 8 here. 2 routes last year. Cowboys added an element to the passing attack. I don't know if that's going to be enough. It's definitely not enough for me to think confidently that they can win this game. But can they make it a 1-score game? Man, are they going to be able to establish the run to open up passing lanes? Or is it going to be more CeeDee Lamb making heroic catches on the sidelines because they got no other option than to huck it up to him? They're going to throw some moonshot, Russ Wilson-style moonshot balls to George Pickens. It could be make or break. Man, that's not the sort of thing you want to bet your money on. Pickens coming down with those, especially against all that, what are they, the exciting whites out there, Cooper Najeen and company. So in this game, I'm going to say the Eagles probably beat that spread and probably win by 10 points or more. Can't stay here forever, but it's going to be a good game. But I'm going Eagles. Sort of feels like a Saquon over 100 yards rushing, Jalen Hurts 50 yards rushing. Man, they might hang up 40 on these Cowboys early. Let's see. Up next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers way down in Brazil. Last year, I remember the Packers were playing in Brazil, and Jordan Love on like the last play on a last-ditch Hail Mary twisted his knee and was never the same. It was a muddy field. Didn't get fully back to health last year. I kind of worry about these big-name Chiefs and Chargers players. I don't know why we're going to Brazil once a year to play football. I don't know why we can't, let's go and do like a flag football game in March if we need the Brazilians watching. We need to make them feel like we're, seeing them. I don't know why we're playing a competitive NFL football game in Sao Paulo, Brazil on the week 1 of the season with Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Najee Harris, Amari Hampton. These are big players. This is the value, the brand of the NFL, and we're putting them on a mud field in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Fucking 15 hours away from Kansas City, maybe more. I don't know how long that flight is. Cannot be fun. And then we're asking them to play again 10 days later in the National Football League. A little concerning, but let's look at the matchup. Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs are always the Chiefs. Pacheco's coming back. Xavier Worthy, obviously. Rashee Rice is going to miss the first 6 weeks. That kind of stuff never seems to bother the Kansas City Chiefs. Chargers, on the other hand, year 2 of Harbaugh. They went and got their first round Amari Hampton running back. You know that Harbaugh is excited as hell to have Najee Harris, who's a massively underrated, maybe. I tend to think that Najee's underrated, looking at the stats in his production with some wild play calling and some sort of beat your head against the wall. We're going to run the outside zone 35 times, even if it's not working. Play calling in Pittsburgh, Artie Smith style play calling. That's kind of what you get. Now in San Diego, I refuse to acknowledge the move. They're still the San Diego Chargers to me. Now they've got Najee and Amari and Hampton, two-headed approach. You know that they're going to first quarter, second quarter, just want to pound it down your throat and then give some space for Justin Herbert, who obviously is an amazing passer. He's not going to run around and make crazy plays, but if you can give him a little time in the pocket to throw darts to Ladd McConkey, to throw darts to Keenan Allen, who's coming back, that could be very much a winning approach. And love a two-headed beast at running back. I believe in Najee. He's young, experienced. You know, he's one of the top running backs in the league, and they got him at a discount. No injury. Like, he's durable. People, you know, J.K. Dobbins goes to the Broncos this year on a similar contract. They're in the $3 to $5 million 1 year kind of prove-it deals. Those are not the same player just because they're a similar age and a point in their career and getting similar deals. Najee is the real deal. J.K. Dobbins also the real deal, but he has legitimate injury concerns, legitimate production concerns. I still believe Dobbins is going to do great in Denver this year, but Najee could be a steal in fantasy, in free agency, in general. Brazil is the big toss-up factor in this game, and the Chiefs' early season. Well, I was going to say the Chiefs struggle early in the season, and that might have been a narrative in 2023, I want to say. Let's look real quick. 2023, they lost their opener, and then they rattled off 6 straight wins. 2024, they won on that Isaiah Likely toe. Was he in, was he out? Amazing game. That was the curtain raiser last year against the Ravens. They went on to win 9 straight. Only lost to Buffalo in Week 11, and then they'd win 6 more. 15-1, you know, before basically the last week of the season. Dominant. Man, the Chiefs. Oh, boy, this is more exciting, obviously. It's going to be a closer game, I think, than the Cowboys-Eagles game. Man, it comes down to Xavier Worthy maybe in the red zone. They like his speed in the red zone. There's a lot of different ways to attack. They like spreading the field. It's what I do in college football 26 when I'm playing on my PlayStation. When I get in the red zone, I like to spread the field and let my fast guys, in man coverage especially, make some moves, you know? And I think that's what they like doing. I think that's the Chiefs' red zone plan. Obviously, Kelsey's always going to be there running his Kelsey routes. Pacheco, we'll see if he's got that, if his back to full strength and he's going to be able to hammer it in for him. Man, the Chargers, I'm going to say in an upset that it's going to be a really close game. It's going to come down to the wire. I think that the Chargers are going to make a statement here. This is a Harbaugh game. You know he's going to be thrilled to be playing against such good competition in Week 1 to challenge his dudes. Harbaugh's a hell of a coach. Cheater at Michigan, obviously, but a hell of an NFL coach. Going Chargers. Just want to show you this just to confirm. So every team on Pro Football Reference has a 3-letter acronym that describes them, so you can type it in the URL there. And you'll notice that Chargers are still SDG San Diego. Just saying, Pro Football Reference doesn't acknowledge the move either, so, you know, just something to note. If you go to a Chargers game at SoFi and you hear someone up in the top tiers, anytime there's a little bit of quiet and the TV timeout, you know, just San Diego Superchargers. That's me. I'm never giving it up. It was one of the best TV timeout chants at any NFL stadium was the San Diego Superchargers, and they let that die when they moved to LA. I bring it back. I never let it die. And now we go from some exciting games with some good teams to, boy, a couple of stinkers, man. We got the Cardinals and the Saints. Cardinals 6.5-point favorites. Some people are high on the Cardinals this offseason. I'm not one of them. I think this is a make-or-break-it year for Kyler Murray. I think he's kind of showed what he could do, and then he's shown the upside, and then he's kind of shown who he is. and that's a little harsh, but I think it's just the truth. In the years of Kyler Murray, 5-10, 8-8, 11-6 was the best year by far, and they lost in the wild card that year. Kyler Murray, that was the first year with James Conner. First year, kind of, it's the same crew, I think it's fair to say. After that, 4-13, 4-13, 8-9. Man, disappointing. I want them to be good. I want them to be at least competitive. But James Conner's not getting any younger. Their best receiver is a tight end. Obviously, as an Ohio State guy, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is an amazing player. I think he's a little bit of victim of overhype. He's ridiculous. He's amazing. But with the name, with the hype, people expected a lot more, and he did not deliver last year. I think history says second year for wide receivers, typically you get a massive production bump, and I expect that he will be a legitimate number one receiver. But, man, these Cardinals, I feel like they don't have a ton of depth at the receiver position, the running back position, and it's worth being a little concerned about the quarterback. Across the field, you've got the New Orleans Saints used a first-round pick on like a 27-year-old rookie, Tyler Shuck. A lot of questions about him. Spencer Rattler, who was a super high prospect, and I think in high school everyone assumed he was going to be a starting quarterback. In college, he looked like he was going to be a starting quarterback. He's a little undersized, kind of similar build to Kyler Murray. Kyler obviously has a ridiculous arm strength from his baseball career and otherwise. Man, this is going to be a stinker. It's going to be, and the Saints are going to be massive underdogs in every game they play. 6.5 points feels like a lot at home. Just because I'm not sure, are the Cardinals going to be able to put up a ton of points, or is this going to be like a 21-17 kind of stinker, 14-10 kind of stinker turnover fest? And just for that reason, this is a low over-under there. I think we're going to, like the Saints, Cardinals are going to win this game, but I think it's going to be 3 to 6 points, not 6.5 or more. Don't watch this game. Let's celebrate Week 1 football by not watching the Cardinals and the Saints. Another game we're not going to watch unless you have fantasy players involved is the Panthers-Jags. Stinkfest. Jags and Trevor Lawrence are in the same position. I don't know if it's the same draft class, but it's similar era as Kyler Murray. They've had similar amount of time. They've had success. They've had disaster. This is just one of those make or break it years for the Jags. Obviously, it's a whole new regime there, but that could be another reason it's a make or break it year because Trevor Lawrence is not Liam Cohen's guy. Gladstone, what's the 27-year-old GM for that team? You know that he's going to want to find his quarterback, and this is the year for Trevor Lawrence to either prove that he's the quarterback of the Jaguars and that they can be a playoff team in the worst division in football. I mean, come on. You line up against the Titans and Cam Ward twice a year, Colts and Danny Jones twice a year, and the Houston Texans, who are the best team in the division by far, but they're no slam dunk after sophomore slumping C.J. Stroud last year. These Jags, I'd love, as a Browns fan, a closeted Browns fan, boy, wouldn't you love to be in that division where you just have to be mediocre to be like competitive halfway through the season? Carolina Panthers in the ascendancy, getting better, but still a lot of questions about if Bryce Young is going to be able to be a dude in the NFL for a long term. I looked at their last year. Everyone was like, oh, the Panthers were good at the end. Good means that they lost by a field goal to the Chiefs, lost in overtime to the Buccaneers, lost by 6 to the Super Bowl champion Eagles, got blown out a little bit, lost by 16 to the Cowboys, beat the Cardinals in overtime. We know what I think about the Cardinals. Got boat raced by the Buccaneers week 17, and then won a squeaker against the Falcons in overtime. And I think that booted the Falcons out of the playoffs, but I'm not sure. So that's an important game. And this kind of post-bye week, 6 weeks here, 7 weeks, was definitely the best that we've seen out of Bryce Young. This is the passing yards in those games. Does it go above 300 yards? No. Is it a high-powered offense? No. Ted McMillan, he's a wild card for me. He could be Brian Thomas Jr. He could be a superstar, or it could be a pretty massive dud, depending on how they fit him into this offense. I think the number one thing for the Panthers to be successful this year is that the best player on their team last year was Chuba Hubbard. And 243 yards rushing in the game that they won against the Cardinals, right? And games that they lost, they're not reaching 100. They didn't win a lot of games, but the games they did win, they had over 100 yards rushing. Except for the Saints game, and it's not that hard to beat the Saints, if we're being honest. So, Panthers-Jags comes down to the run game for the Panthers. If they can get Chuba and company over 100 yards, they're going to win this football game. No questions asked. Because they're going to control the time of possession. They're going to have the ball. They're going to, Jags can't score. Travis Hunter can't be doing it. And I don't even want to talk about Travis Hunter, who I think is an amazing athlete, is a better cornerback than he is a receiver, was not playing against amazing competition in some of those amazing, like, I watch his highlight reels, drives me up the wall. It's like North Dakota State and Colorado State are not the two games when I'm, like, looking at a top 5 draft pick. Those are the games when he really excelled and was ridiculous. Man, I watched a lot of Colorado games where they were god-awful last year and got their asses kicked. And then they're, so excited to win in a Hail Mary in a game when just overall 60 minutes they didn't perform. So I'm just not sure. You're going to have to convince me. I'm a tough sell, okay? I got the Panthers easily covering the spread, probably winning that game. Trevor Lawrence, prove me wrong. Show that you're that guy that we thought you were. Number 1 pick. Up next, we've got the Giants and the Commies. I've been talking a lot about this game with some of my buddies with fantasy concerns. Do we believe in Austin Eckler? Do we believe in Bill? What a story of the offseason is Bill Krosky Merritt, right? And these Commies. And Jaden Daniels, ridiculous. He was one of my favorite players ever to watch in college football at LSU. I knew that was going to translate to the pros. I didn't think it would happen so quick. What an amazing season last year. Giants are now in the, we're in the post-Saquon embarrassment era and possibly in the Jackson Dart era. Russell Wilson performed admirably last year with the Steelers with not a ton of weapons. He gets maybe even a slightly upgraded talent pool with Malik Neighbors. Wan'Dale Robinson is an underrated receiver in this league. And Tyrone Tracy is going to be a really good running back, kind of on a similar Chuba Hubbard career path. The question of this game is going to be the Giants' biggest asset is their defensive line with Burns, Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. I think there's one more really good player in there. Of course, the Penn State kid they just got. Abdul Carter. Sorry about that. So that's clearly the best segment of this Giants team is that defense, run stopping, pass stopping. In my head, how do you beat the best defensive line maybe in the NFC? You throw screen passes to Austin Eckler. You let them get sucked up, and you push in behind them. You throw some longer passes to Scary Terry, who's amazing that they still have him. I have some fears about these Commies as I look real quick at their depth chart. Man, Deebo Samuels has not been impressive the last several years. And he's going to be a huge part of this offense. I haven't been impressed. I kind of never got on the Deebo bandwagon. I recognize that he's an amazing player and he fits that gadget wildcat role. You know, in San Francisco, they used him uniquely. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him because it's hard to replicate that San Francisco offense. I don't think that that's exactly what the Commanders want. But maybe some of this getting rid of Brian Robinson, maybe it's a Cordell Patterson career path, and Deebo Samuel is a running back now. If that's the case, then the Commanders' wide receivers in the passing game are Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, and Jalen Lane. Not awe-inspiring receiving core, in my opinion. So I have a hard time thinking that they're going to score a ton of points. Jaden Daniels could be the antidote to that. Hey, it doesn't matter who it is if you're sending them long, and then just like we talked about earlier with Jalen Hurts, when you send receivers deep for vertical and you have a little time in the pocket, which you might not have against this Giants line, let Jaden Daniels run free and wild and pick up 50 yards on a QB scramble. That's probably the Commanders' offense. Giants aren't going to be able to put up a ton of points. He'll take the Commies. And we'll see. If things go poorly, Jackson Dart era could start a lot sooner than people think. I think Russ Wilson is still a competent quarterback in this league. But, man, if it gets ugly, that's going to be a quick plug on Russell Wilson. Up next is my game of the week, personally, is the Steelers and Jets, the double revenge game. Right, swapped QBs. Rodgers was a Jet, now he's a Steeler. Fields was a Steeler, now he's a Jet. Oh, boy. Right? Aaron Rodgers is just a circus wherever he goes, huh? But not in Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, they don't do circuses. They go out to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, out in the hills, and there's no, you're in a dorm room that, Jack Lambert slept in that dorm room. And you kind of really get, I think, it punched into you. That's what good institutions of football do. That's what we talk about is a good institution of football can take a player like Aaron Rodgers and kind of beat the ego out of him a little bit and say, we're the Pittsburgh Steelers, not the Rodgers show. Whereas in New York Jets, it was like, oh, Rodgers is bringing over Alan Lazard and Devontae Adams. Those are his friends. It's like the Adams, he's having like a tea party. Aaron Rodgers is in the locker room, and the rest of the team is looking over being like, so it's like they're the in crew, and like we're like the rest of them. Not in Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, it's Mike Tomlin's party. You don't believe that? Ask, that big boy George Pickens, right? You have a couple of dust-ups on the sideline. Get the hell out of here, right? Big personalities don't do well in Pittsburgh unless they conform. New York Jets trying something different this year. We tried the big, New York under the lights, flash bulbs banging, and how'd that work out? They were terrible. The defense was supposed to be good. They had a great coach. They fired the coach. The defense turned to shit. Rodgers was serviceable last year. My favorite stat of the year is that the Jets' passing offense was 16 out of 32. Aaron Rodgers led a middle-of-the-road offense last year. Some people, I think, in their heads think that they were like 28th, like they were terrible. No, they were completely average with Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. Adams is gone. It's back to being Garrett Wilson's show, reuniting the Ohio State Buckeyes, Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson. People having questions about Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, what's going on. I don't think it matters. I think Breece Hall is still the running back for the Jets. He's going to get the ball a ton. He's going to catch the ball a ton. Braylon Allen's a good change of pace. Man, this guy's 240 pounds of just, he's a little tank. Like Tank Bigsby. He's a tank. Steelers, top to bottom, are one of the best teams roster-wise in football. Maybe that's not true. They have one of the best coaching staffs, and they have a very good roster. They have underrated, under the radar receivers in Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson. Obviously, they brought in DK Metcalf, who's a freak. And again, 27 years old, I think DK is. People think of him like he's been around forever. Like, no, this kid is young, in the prime of his life. He looks like he's 40. I think that contributes to it a little bit. New running backs. It's going to be the Caleb Johnson, but starting running back is that little fella, Jalen Warren. Man, he is quick, and he can break off some big runs, and I don't think you want, when you get pitched to Warren for 8 yards, and he's speeding to the outside, and your linebackers are taking their first step is outside to try and chase these outside zone runs, right? And then they bring in Caleb Johnson, and then he's going to punch you right in the mouth. That's Pittsburgh Steelers football, Artie Smith football. I think that it worked with Najee and Jalen Warren. I think it's going to work just as well, if not better, with Caleb Johnson and Jalen Warren. I think it worked with George Pickens. It's going to work even better with DK Metcalf. I think it worked with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. It's going to work just a little bit better with Aaron Rodgers. 2.5 point spread, I think, is pretty generous to these Jets. This is one that's a real 50-50 one, man. This is going to be a good game, and I'm excited to watch it. I'm going to take the Steelers 2.5. I think it's going to be more. I think they're going to win by a touchdown. We're going to keep track of all these games we're picking, and we're going to have a little review next week. So if I suck, Sean's going to be here next week. Right here in this mic telling me I suck. Hey, you suck. Yeah, I know. What's next? Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Still in the early morning slate here. Can you believe we get all this great football? This is a game of the week, too. One of the only division games I see on this whole thing, except for the Lions and Packers and the Vikings and Bears. That whole division plays each other in night games or evening games. Yeah. Who's the Sunday night game? We'll look into that. Buccaneers Falcons, man, I love Baker Mayfield. Huh? Who is Michael Penix? Huh? Is Drake London an elite receiver in this league? Huh? Bijan Robinson, is he the future of the NFL at the running back position? Huh? Bucky Irving, is he the future of the NFL at the running back position? Does Mike Evans still have it in the tank? Remember Tyler Algier? He rushed for like 1,000 yards one year. Huh. Man, Tampa Bay defense is always good. I'm not going to rattle it off, but I think they got better this year. Coaching is unbelievable. Falcons also have a really good thing working. They're one of those teams, I think, that was a below average institution, and they're working, and they've got good people in place where they're becoming an above average institution. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are just through the roof consistent. They are built the culture, right? That's what we talk about. Coaches build culture. Players contribute to culture. I think that they have it. Baker Mayfield is the dude you want to build around. Teams love it when you have a franchise quarterback. The other players know there's no questions. There's no arguing. I think we should go with this guy. I think we should go with that guy. Man, you know who's an underrated player? Severely underrated football player who maybe is on your waiver wire in your fantasy league? His name's Rachaad White, and this dude is an animal. One of the best pass catching, pass blocking. He can take the ball in a shotgun set handoff. Man, they are stacked out there in Tampa Bay. You know, there's no superstar, megastar, but you list the names, you get to Emeka Egbuka. And look, Godwin's not playing for 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, could be longer. But Godwin's out there every day coaching up Emeka Egbuka. Mike Evans is coaching up Emeka Egbuka. I think they have Sterling Shepard. They have got veterans on the offense that are helping out the new core. This is what you want in a football team. I get fired up. I love Tampa Bay. 2.5 points, 2 points on the road. This is a statement game. Falcons obviously are going to want to win, but this is Penix. This is the biggest game of his life. Penix has had, two or three ACL surgeries? There's a reason to be tentative for him. He's gonna be, seems like a player. It's gonna be 3 or 4 weeks of him like finding his feet, finding his footing, getting into it. The Falcons were really good last year with Kirk Cousins, but he was coming off an Achilles injury. He looked scared to step out of the pocket. He was still slinging it, but they didn't have very much athleticism or versatility at the quarterback position last year. This is gonna be a great game. I'm going Tampa Bay. Little homer there because I'm a Baker guy. That's going to be a great game. If I'm wrong about that one, I feel less bad than if I'm wrong about, any of the other ones. Titans Broncos, this is tied for our biggest spread of this, when we look at 8 points, that's how many points Vegas thinks the Eagles are going to beat the Cowboys by, and that's how much they're giving the Broncos to the Titans. I think that the gulf in talent between the Broncos and the Titans is different than the Eagles and the Cowboys, right? So this is a no-brainer. Broncos, it's going to be interesting for fantasy football to see R.J. Harvey. Is he going to get the ball? J.K. Dobbins, is he going to get the ball? Bo Nix, is he going to be that mobile, versatile dude? I think Bo Nix, sky's the limit for him. He's awesome. He played like 15 years in college. He is awesome. I don't think there's a world where Cam Ward in his first NFL game goes to Cortland Sutton's house and does anything other than lose by 2 touchdowns. I think this is the safest bet. Bing, 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 bing. Mark it down. If you had to make one bet this week, Denver Broncos are going to beat the Tennessee Titans by 10 points. Buy it up. Buy 2 points. Sell 2 points. I don't know what you would say. Oh, my God. Now we're in the afternoon slate of divisional games. Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer? Micah Parsons is Reggie White? That's what people are saying. Like, he is Reggie White now. The sack king. The minister of defense. Packers drafted a wide receiver for the first time in 20 years. His name's Matthew Golden. He is quick. They've got receivers, this sort of average receiver. They've got like 6 of these dudes. Dobbs and Watson and Wicks and my cousin Larry, They've got a very underrated tight end in Tucker Kraft in the passing game. He's really wide receiver number 2 in my eyes. And everyone else is tertiary. Look it up. These Lions. Who would have thought the Lions, if you told me in the last game of the year last year after they beat the Vikings to get that big boost in the playoffs, that they were going to be underdogs in their first game of the season next year. I get it. It's the Packers. I don't know, man. I feel like the Lions should be favorites here. Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is back. Man. Packers offensive line, I haven't heard amazing things that make me think like Jordan Love's going to have a lot of time to find Matthew Golden. He can be as fast as he wants. If Aiden Hutchinson and company and Anzalone and such are in Jordan Love's face after 2 seconds after the snap, it doesn't really matter how fast Matthew Golden is. So if the Packers are going to win this game, it's going to be some of this. Sit, go, boom, out. Right? Establish the run early, but Josh Jacobs there. Man, this is a no-brainer for me. I'm not just taking the Lions +2. I'm taking the Lions over here. Money line. They're going to win that game. Packers are going to have a good season, but I think it's going to take a little while when your number one guy is this rookie. It's the same with the Panthers. It's like you can't expect him to hit the ground running. If it happens, that's amazing, but there's obvious reasons you can't expect that. So last but not least, we're going to pause for 1 second. Man, I had a feeling we were missing some games. I hadn't talked about the Browns. We're going to speed through the ones I skipped. that weren't on that list. Bengals, Browns. Browns are going to be better than people think. I saw them 32nd on people's power rankings. If you think the Browns are worse than the Saints, boy, oh boy, they're not. They're better. Saints, who do the Saints have that's comparable to Myles Garrett? Nobody. Zero. Bengals, slow starters, perennial slow starters. Hey, the offense, we played in the preseason this year, so maybe now we're not going to lose by, get boat raced in the first month of the season. Bengals' offensive line is horrific, and Myles Garrett is an animal. He collects quarterbacks and buries them in his backyard. This guy's a freak. That said, offensive firepower, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Joe Flacco to Jerry Jeudy gets me a little excited. Dylan Sampson getting the rock. I'm not a big Jerome Ford guy, but still, he's got some comparables to Jalen Warren, division rival. I think there's a world where the Bengals squeak this out by a field goal, or the Browns steal a game here and say, hey, Joe Flacco, there's something to veterans and experience. And, hey, remember Coach of the Year Kevin Stefanski, who made it work? Man, he could put my neighbor Chris in a quarterback with Kevin Stefanski, and he could probably complete a couple of passes and get a couple of touchdowns. Call me nuts, but I'm taking the Browns +5. Call me a homer. Call me all those things. Raiders, Patriots. This one reminds me of that great game. Who is it? Jacoby Myers, right? Ramondre Stevenson, last play of the game. He pitches it to Myers, and then he throws it back across the field to the Raiders, who he then stiff arms Mac Jones and runs in for a touchdown. What an amazing play that was. Yeah, Patriots win. These Raiders and Genty, Bowers, it's going to be fun on offense. I'm worried about the defense. New look Patriots. Stephon Diggs was hot to start the year. Maybe I talked myself out of it. Maybe the Raiders have offensive firepower. Do the Patriots? Is Travion Henderson enough? I love Travion Henderson. Is he going to be able to put up 20 points on the board? Is he the difference maker for these Patriots that have been anemic on offense for so long? Is Drake May the real deal? Something about having only seen one successful Patriots quarterback in the last 50 years makes me doubt Patriots quarterbacks. I get it was Tom Brady and they won like 11 Super Bowls or something, but you know what? Raiders +3. Mark it. Dolphins, Colts. This is a stinker of a football game. I said from day one that Danny Jones was going to be the quarterback of the Colts. It was the best choice for them. Anthony Richardson, wildly unprepared to be an NFL quarterback. The only way he was ever going to succeed was in the Packers kind of sit him down for 2 or 3 years behind a veteran. It's not over for Anthony Richardson, but he was doomed from the start with how they set him up to fail in Indianapolis. Miami Dolphins, so we've said Kyler Murray, make or break. Trevor Lawrence, make or break. Prove it. Prove it. Why should we continue down this road? I love Tua, but it's the same question, man. It's like these young quarterbacks, we saw the top. Now we've seen how bad it can get. Convince me otherwise. Or you've got the other thing, which is quarterbacks who were set up for failure and failed. Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Danny Dimes, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield didn't even fail, but he was set up for failure, thrived regardless, got booted regardless. Now he's on his second team, someone who believes in him, who maybe said, hey, we're going to go out and get you when we know what we're getting, instead of drafting you as a prospect. And I don't know, Shane Steichen's an offensive genius, mastermind, right? So something makes me think that these Colts are going to start out hot and that these Dolphins are going to start out cold. Taking the Colts. Keep rattling through. These Niners, they're on my downward trajectory teams. I think that Christian McCaffrey is back and he's going to be great. I think that Brock Purdy, some people have him here, some people have him here, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. He's kind of average, and average can be fine. He's got a great down-the-field passing. I don't know who he's passing the ball down the field to other than Ricky Pearsall. The answer is no one. George Kittle, how much more abuse can that guy take? He's like, just gets hit and hit and hit. And I know he's tough as a bull, but like, man, this Niners team is moving the wrong direction. The offensive line that was a staple for them is getting older and weaker and worse. The defense is kind of just, it's atrophying. That's going to be the word of the year for the Niners is, are we witnessing atrophy? And then you got the Seattle Seahawks and Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp. They get rid of DK Metcalf. They still have that two-headed beast of Kenny Walker and Zach Charbonnet running the ball. At home, the beginning of an era? The beginning of an era? Playoffs? Seattle Seahawks. Take the money line here. The Seattle Seahawks are going to win this football game. I'll bet my house. Maybe not my house, but a pure water LaCroix to 5 listeners if the Seahawks don't win this game. I'm a bit of a Niners hater. I've been to one San Francisco 49ers football game in my life against the Cleveland Browns. I got there early. I think I drove up with my brother. I was so excited to watch my Brownies. I think it was like 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. It was the worst game I've ever been to. The Niners boat raced us. I was heckled by Niners fans as I was leaving, a sad Browns fan. Fuck the Niners. Fuck San Francisco. Fuck the whole Bay Area. Yeah, I know I got a Marky Basie record right here. He's the crown prince of the Bay Area. Fuck the whole Bay Area. Fuck the Niners. I'm taking the Seahawks. Rattling through. Rams are going to beat the Texans. Bills, Ravens. What a game, man. Thank you, NFL. It's like college football set the precedence with top 10 teams in week 1 playing each other. Now we're doing it in the NFL. Bills, Ravens. This is a toss-up. If I could pretend like I know what's going to happen in this game, I could just close my eyes and click one of these teams, and I have just as much of a chance as talking to you people about who I think is going to win. Who knows? I'm just happy I get to watch. Let's go. Do we have something to flip? Coin flip. Shoot. All right, we're going to flip my keys. This is my little driving range key fob. If it's facing metal side down, that's the Ravens. Metal side up is the Bills. Metal side down, that's the Ravens. I mean, come on. I'm just happy I get to watch. Vikings, Bears. That game is happening on Monday Night Football. Caleb Williams was never as good as people thought he was. USC football was never as good as people thought he was. If we were in the post-Shedeur Sanders era, when Caleb Williams was coming out, we would say, oh, just because the media says on the first day of the season, oh, week 1, this is going to be the first round number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. They manifested that to be true by saying it enough that then when the Bears came in, it's like, oh, well, we're not going to pick the guy that everyone says is the number 1 guy. When clearly Jaden Daniels had a much better college football season, is a better pro prospect, has better physicality, has better arm strength, has better decision making. Oh, but Caleb Williams, he's a generation. He could be the best quarterback I've ever seen. But the tape doesn't say so. Show me a Caleb Williams jaw on the floor tape, and then Google Jaden Daniels LSU highlights, and then tell me who's a better football player. What are we talking about here? Potential or realized potential? I'm going to have a fucking heart attack. J.J. McCarthy. Oh, this guy's really good. He led Michigan to a national championship. Show me a good... I'm sure J.J. McCarthy has good throws. Show me a great throw. Not like a... that's a pretty good throw. Show me something that validates the draft position and validates moving on from Sam Darnold. Right? Like, you can draft a quarterback top 5, Trey Lance, and then have a better quarterback come in and play for your franchise, and then say, oh, I thought about it, and I'm going to take the better quarterback Even though I have draft capital and expenditure and a sunken cost, I'm going to take the better quarterback to be the quarterback for my team. God, these Vikings and Bears drive me nuts. I hope no one wins this game. That being said, give me the Bears. Lean on DeAndre Swift. Lean on DJ Moore. Yeah, they've got Justin Jefferson over there, but if I'm being totally honest with him, he's got some soft tissue muscle issues that just linger and linger and linger, and when you're that explosive and the size that he is, I have worries about that. Jerry Rice wasn't a sprinter at any point in his career. Calvin Johnson wasn't a sprinter. I worry about sprinters because they're fragile. No Jordan Addison, who's the second receiver in in Minnesota. Show me something here, Internet. Who plays wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings? Yeah, they've got Aaron Jones running back, and they've got Jordan Mason, and they're going to be much better on the ground. Adam Thielen, they brought in. He's going to be starting. Thielen's great. He showed last year with Bryce. This is the guy you want for a young rookie quarterback. But the Bears have a couple of good coverage guys. Man. Bears are going to win this game. And the Vikings are going to rue the day that they let Sammy Darnold walk. This has been Positively Sports Media. I have been Joe. In the future, Sean's going to be here giving some back and forth. Well, Joe, I think. Well, Sean, I think. But not today. Today, it's just me, an absolutely insane person, yelling at the camera. It's been fun. Hope you've enjoyed. Come back again. We're going to try to do this every week with not just me, but this week we did what we had to do. Let's cycle through really quick. Let's go through, admire our work. You guys can see this here. Steelers -2.5. So let's go over the favorites first. Steelers favorites, Commies favorites. Ravens, that doesn't count, it's a toss-up. Rams over the Texans. Didn't talk a ton about this one. I think the Rams are just a really good team. Their defense last year blew me away. They lost a couple of the dudes who are amazing on that defense. I think that they will replace them. I think that their front office is elite at finding talent and incorporating it. Tutu Atwell is like the best wide receiver 3 in football. Matt Stafford is the real deal. Matt Stafford is who people thought Aaron Rodgers was. He's the real deal. This is probably his last year. He's going to give it all. They're going to take him off that field in a body bag because he's Matt Stafford. Broncos -8. That's pick of the week. Buccaneers -2 over the Falcons. I feel good about that. Eagles -8. A lot of underdogs. Chargers plus. Colts, that's a toss-up. Browns plus. I really do feel good about that. I know it sounds insane, but this is we're back to Coach Kevin Stefanski having his team back after those terrible owners, the Haslams, worst owners in all of sports, hijacked. I mean, these are the people responsible for Manziel, and they're the people responsible for Watson. They're the people responsible for getting rid of Baker. If Kevin Stefanski was running this team, it would look a lot different. And now we're back to sort of what a Stefanski team should look like. They're going to be good. Panthers +3.5 in Jacksonville. They should be favorites. Lions +2 in Green Bay. They should be favorites. Raiders on the road. Man, that's going to be a closer game. I'm not going to say they should be favorites, but I do feel good about Geno and the boys. Although I worry about the wide receivers. Keep an eye out for fantasy. Is it Jack Beck or is it this Dante Thornton kid? For me, Thornton is going to get 2 targets a game on deep balls. He's a speedster. He's not physically ready yet for the NFL versus Beck, who got dozens and dozens and dozens of receptions in Big 12 football. I think he's going to be ready. I think that Beck is going to be a slot guy who's going to get a lot of catches and a lot of touches. Seahawks, that's my team of the year, man. And the Niners, atrophy. That's going to be the word. We're going to put it behind my head. 49ers equal atrophy. Bears, Vikings, that's going to be a good game. Saints, Cardinals, plus 6.5. Again, I think the Cardinals are going to win that game. But 6.5 is a lot. I think 6. They're going to win by 6. Cardinals by 6. And that's it. That does it. So thanks for rocking with us. And go Buckeyes. Go football. Glad to be back. Comment your thoughts. We're going to go over the picks that we made this week, next week. Man, just happy to be back. Let's get it. Let's have a great season. Goodbye.